Welcome to another episode of the UMAC series, Lessons from Leaders. We are excited today to be here with the College of St. Scholastica women's soccer head coach, Dave Reyelts. Dave, thanks for joining us this morning. The St. Scholastica women's soccer program certainly has displayed excellence over the past 2 decades under Dave's leadership. They have claimed either the regular season or the postseason tournament title in 17 of the last 19 seasons in the UMAC. Dave was named the UMAC Coach of the Decade for 2008 through 2018, another sign of his great leadership leading their program. And last year, the St. Scholastica Saints were the 2018 regular season champions with a 11-0-1 record. So thank you for joining us. We'll jump right in. The first question, Dave. As you look at successful leadership and leaders in particular, what's one trait or characteristic that you feel is almost always common or you see in a successful coach or a successful program?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to these questions. It makes you think a little bit going back over the years. But I think something that's really important and I've learned over the years and really have learned to value is the relationships with the student athletes and how valuable that is. I've learned that you can push them beyond their limits, kind of make them to get outside their comfort zone if you build relationships with them, not only on the field but also off the field in their lives as well outside of soccer.
Sure. And Dave, one of I think things that often leaders do is study other leaders, or they have mentors that they would say a lot of their success is credit to. For you, who comes to mind, either a mentor or somebody that you've studied that you feel like you've pulled some, traits of your leadership style into what you do?
Sure. Well, I've been really fortunate to be around a lot of really good leaders. A few come to mind. So I know you mentioned one, but it's too hard for me to just say one because there's been a number of them that have kind of formed who I am as a coach. One of them is St. Scholastica alum and longtime UMD coach Greg Kane. Tremendous leader. Learned a lot from him, not only about coaching but also the lay of the land and recruiting, and learned a lot about how to help players believe that this would be a great location for them to come and be a student athlete. Also, my soccer coach here at St. Scholastica, Nick Boccigalupo, who still coaches. He's at Duluth Marshall now, coaching the girls team there, and has had a lot of success. Great leader, taught me a lot about patience and about the relationship building that we talked about. And then also another one that comes to mind is Jeff Hallbeck, who's a longtime track coach in Duluth. Gave me my first coaching job right out of high school. I went away and played a year of junior hockey and came back that next year and asked me if I wanted to coach the junior high track team at Duluth Central. and I learned a lot from him about coaching and teaching and how important teaching is in the whole concept of coaching. So, and there's a bunch of others too. Obviously, I've had a lot of good leaders. My dad was one of my coaches growing up, so he's one that also comes to mind as a mentor. So I've been really fortunate over the years to have a number of good people to show me the way and guide me on my path.
Sure. Great to hear a lot of local Duluth connections and people that have influenced you. I'm sure some of those people have helped you through, as you look back over now 2 decades, some highs and some of the mountaintop experiences from your coaching opportunities, and then also comes with that sometimes the valleys and the challenges more. And speak a little bit about some of the mountaintops and some of the valleys, maybe in terms of your 2 decades of leading the St. Scholastica women's soccer program.
Absolutely. I would say obviously soccer-wise there are some mountains. One of which was our first NCAA tournament appearance, where we went to Carroll College, now Carroll University,
Sure.
and I would definitely say that was an upset that day. Went out and got a 1-0 win against them. That was a huge moment in our program's history, and so obviously something near the mountain for me. Having the opportunity the next game to play Wheaton College, who went on to win the national championship, was fun. The only goal they gave up in that run of 6 games to win the championship was to us. Unfortunately, we ended up on the wrong side of the result, but scored a goal, so that was fun. I would also say beyond soccer, some of the some obviously in soccer obviously I take a lot of value in all of the championships that our players have won, and And although as a program we won a number of them, I know each one is very special to the players, and they work very hard to earn those. So you don't want to dismiss those as being very important. But beyond that, some of the life stuff, watching players get married, watching players have children of their own. I'm currently recruiting a couple of our my first team players, kids now, which ages me a bit, I guess. But that's fun. It's fun to see. It's fun to watch them play. I went this summer and watched a couple of my former players' children playing in games, and to see that, to see that growth, that movement over the years. I would say those are some of the highs.
Sure.
Obviously there's been some lows in soccer. We've had some disappointment. Like you talked about the program, the tradition of our program, the expectation of our players, and even our college, the administration here is that we're going to have success. And so when we go into a conference tournament like last year and expected to win and go on to the NCAA tournament and then don't, those are definitely some of the soccer lows, and really hard with teams, and hard with when you have success like we've had success even within that year last year, to help our players understand that one game doesn't define them. And it's really hard when you see them crying and how much they put into it over the years, and then they obviously they're disappointed with the end result, and trying to get them to understand that that's just one moment in a long career. But at the time it's really hard for them to see that. So those are some of the lows, and I would say probably the biggest low that I've faced is a player that I coached for, I had on my team for 4 years, and she struggled a bit with mental health while she was here, and then got out into the real world, did really well, became a pharmacist, thought she was on the right track, and then a couple of years back she took her life, and I would say that was probably the lowest moment in my coaching career, and really hard at the funeral to see your teammates and friends and family there, and it just brings you back to real life and how important that is versus the soccer part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's stay there just for a little bit. Some of those valleys obviously are impactful as well. How have you grown through some of those valleys and some of those experiences? Obviously very personal, impactful. How are you stronger? How are you able to lead your program even more effectively, getting through some of those valleys?
Sure. Well, it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, the relationships and building relationships, and trying to help, not only help our players find success on the soccer field, find success in the classroom, but find success in life, and help them build a foundation that will carry them on into their lives, whether it's to have families or to chase their dreams, whatever those dreams may be.
Sure.
And so, it's obviously, the old saying, right? Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Adversity makes you stronger. Yeah. So we talk a lot about that, and how you're going to face challenges in life. You're going to face challenges in sports, and how do you grow from that? And what do you do? And know that you have people that you can lean on. Teammates. We talk about teammates being family. And I know lots of people talk about teammates being family, and we're the same as everyone else. But there is really some value in that, and understanding that you don't have to get through everything on your own, that you've got people that you can count on, you've got friends, you've got family, you've got people that are there to support you and care about you, and how valuable that is, and using those people as resources as you go forward in life.
Sure. Switching gears a little bit, going back to kind of just the success that your program has had, oftentimes you'll hear it's easier to kind of climb to the top than maybe to stay at the top, or when the target is always on you, and it's a pretty big bullseye from everybody else, being able to take everybody's best shot. Speak to how your program's been able to sustain success, not just a 1 or 2 year blip, but over really 2 decades and even beyond that. How you've been able to maintain that success, not just one time or one season situation?
Well, I'll say this: I'd much rather be the underdog than the one that everybody's targeting.
Yeah.
I've always felt more comfortable in that scenario than I have being at the top with a bullseye on our back. But to answer your question, first of all, it's culture. It's the culture of our student athletes. It's their competitive desire, and we look for that when we're recruiting. We're not always able to pull the very best soccer players. We there's a lot of competition in Minnesota for talent, and you know, we're limited to the area where we can pull kids from. We occasionally pull one from a ways away, but most of our kids come from Minnesota, and especially this area. And so, you know, we're looking for players that want to compete, that want to work hard, that understand that they, you know, have a long way to go in their soccer ability for them to be successful. We talk a lot about it's a 4-year process, and you've got to come in and build yourself and get better every year. So a lot of that is culture and a willingness of the players that we recruit. But then also we have tremendous leadership. You know, we've got very high achieving young women in our program, not only on the soccer field but in the classroom. You know, high GPA, high expectations there of themselves and their teammates. Sure. They compete in that as well. They want to be the best in the you know, athletic department as far as the GPA goes too. So they push each other. But you know, tremendous leadership that just explains to our players when they get here, this is who we are, this is what we do, these are our expectations, and that part of that expectation is to win. You know, they want to win, then we want to win conference championships and make it to the NCAA tournament, and so they you know, they do a lot of that dirty work, I guess, as far as pulling those players along and having that expectation. And then the last piece, which is hugely important, is I feel like continuity in coaching. Obviously, I've been here a long time, but it's more about our assistant coaches, Dave Robinson, who's been with our program for 15 years now. You know, our goalkeeper coach, who's been with our program for 12 years now after playing here. We've got a couple other alums that are helping us out and really are a big part of it. And so, you know, it's I think some of the continuity that we have and having players come back and want to be a part of helping out has really helped us to maintain that success. Sure.
So you now, you know, can say you're moving past into the third decade of coaching.
Ouch.
Yeah. As you look back, what would you tell Coach Dave of 20 years ago? You know, maybe some advice or realize maybe through these past 2 decades that you would pass on to the Coach Dave 20 years ago if you could start over.
Sure. Yeah, I thought about that a lot. So, you know, first thing would be patient. You need to be a teacher first. You need to understand that these players aren't going to have all the answers right away, and maybe not even have all the answers all the way through. But be, you know, guide and be a teacher and be more patient with them. Also, you know, the putting less value on the wins and losses and more on the, like we talked about, relationships, more on, you know, the end product of them as human beings. And I tell this story a lot. My oldest, who's now 15, when he was 3, we were playing in the NAIA final here against Jamestown, and again, we were, you know, I prefer the underdog role, but we were expected to win, had a lead and gave it away, so it was a disappointing night, and you know, an opportunity to go to the national tournament was lost, and came home, young child at home, and I was sitting on our chair sad, and he kind of plopped himself in my lap, and he said, "Dad, what's wrong?" And I said, "We lost." And he said, "That's okay, we can find it tomorrow." So, you know, he didn't quite understand, right? He didn't understand, you know, losing a game, what does that mean? So, you know, gave him a big hug, and it's, you know, it started to, for me then, to, okay, there's other things that are more, you know, more valuable, and life is important, and the lives of these student athletes are way more important than the wins and losses that they achieve or don't achieve. And so, if I could go back, that would be, you know, those would be a couple of things, but that would be one of the biggest things, is there's a lot more value in being involved in athletics than just the results on the field. Sure.
The last question for you. It seems the role of a Division III coach continues to change and evolve. You know, I think sometimes now it's more of a counselor, a mentor, you know, different evolving roles. What do you see when you look ahead as far as for Division III coaches to keep being successful? What are the challenges to overcome? How do you think it changes and starts to look maybe in the next 10 decade or the next decade, 10 years, just with how much Division III is changing in that coach-athlete relationship?
Sure. You know, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, one of the big challenges is that we have to wear more hats. We're not just here to get wins and losses. You know, we're here to help them succeed in school. We're helping them to succeed in life. And the reality is, I'd be lying if I said student athletes aren't more complicated, which is not a bad thing. It's necessarily, it's a good thing. I mean, they come in much more worldly now than they ever used to, and so Along with that, though, comes some challenges. You know, like you said, some of the psychology hat and mental health is a huge part of what we deal with, and we're very fortunate here at the college to have a great support system, a great counseling department that we can rely on, and the college is very aware of those issues and are very supportive and helpful. But the reality is that players will come to you first a lot of the time and deal with that. So that's one of the many challenges. I think that having to wear multiple hats is a huge part of the challenge that goes along with it. And we're very fortunate here that we're well supported. We've got full-time staff. Some of us have full-time assistant coaches. We've got great leadership in our our athletic director and our assistant athletic directors that are supportive and aware that that we do wear multiple hats and we do have to do lots of things, and that even when we have an off day, we may not have an off day because we're receiving texts or phone calls or emails and working with our players to ensure that they have a positive experience. So it's obviously some of those are challenges. There's also some things that are really rewarding in that as well, and that goes back to building relationships and watching your players go and have success beyond. And so although there are challenges, I would definitely tell someone who's interested in coaching and being involved that to me the rewards way outweigh the negatives.
Sure.
And especially once you get past the importance of wins and losses and realize that there's so much more to it. You just open many doors to the rewards of coaching, where if you just focus on wins and losses, there's very limited, either you win or you lose, right? And there's no other ways to see the positives and see rewards from it. Once you open those other doors, there's great opportunities to see success in your student athletes and be proud of the things that they accomplished well beyond the wins and losses of the soccer match.
Sure. Well, again, we appreciate Dave's time today, and the St. Scholastica women's soccer program will look to add another regular season and postseason tournament title to their impressive history. It would be the 10th, I believe, appearance in the Division III National Championship Tournament if they secure that this fall again. Thanks, Dave, for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Corey.
Thanks.